Hey everyone, welcome back to the Families Fly Free podcast. I have got another case study slash success story for you today. So joining me is Trish Harpring. She is a Families Fly Free member. About a year and a half she's been a member, I think. And so she's just back from Copenhagen. So she's going to share some of her best tips and some great trips that she's been able to take and how they've been able to save. So welcome, Trish.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Will you just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your family?
Sure. My husband and I live in Shaker Heights, Ohio, like outside of Cleveland. We have two daughters who are 10 and very recently 7 on Saturday, 2 days ago. We are not originally from here. So we have family in many other places, which is one of the main reasons that I joined Families Fly Free. Do you want me to just launch into that, which is why
Sure.
did I join and how did I join? So
Go for it.
The pandemic came and went and we weren't really traveling. My mother-in-law during that time moved to Florida, back to Florida, I should say, from Louisville, Kentucky. And once the pandemic was over, she was begging for us to come visit. She's put in a pool just to get us there. Yeah, I mean, the kids love it, but it's, flying down because from Cleveland to Florida is a pretty long drive. So the first year that we did that was 2021, in December, and I had to book flights, and I hadn't booked flights in a long time, and we've got no more lap infants. We're past that now. And so I looked, and it was costing us over $1,000 just to fly to Florida one time. And I knew that my mother-in-law was going to be expecting this not just once a year, but several times a year. So at that same time, I happened to hear Lynn on the Choose FI podcast talking about Families Fly Free. So I checked out the website and looked into it. And I remember I even emailed Lynn because there was a promotion running at the time. And I wanted to make sure I could use a travel credit card to pay for my membership. But I wanted to get in during the promotion, and Lynn was able to help me out with that. So that's why I joined, because primarily just to be able to afford to fly us to Florida 2 or 3 times a year just to see my mother-in-law. But I've been able to get a lot more than that from the membership.
Yeah. And that we see a lot of people that come to us to be able to see family more often. I think that's a very common reason. And then it turns out you can see family and you can do some other trips that you would like to do as well. So
Sure.
That's the benefit. But were you doing any type of travel hacking at all before you joined or heard the podcast?
Not really, and not recently. I mean, a long, long time ago, I had my Delta Amex card, and I took myself and my husband to Europe, and I can't remember which trip, but I think I flew over there once by myself, and I flew us over there. I know I flew us over there at least once. Maybe it was our London trip that we flew for free, but that was the best I did. And so I would just put all my regular spend on that Amex. And then when we weren't traveling so much, I switched over and was using the Citibank double cash card and thought I was doing great, getting, 2% cash back, and didn't really think much about the travel hacking, because then we were going through the whole having children, having little children, having, all those kinds of things going on, and I wasn't thinking yet about taking them places. So it just kind of coincided with them being, for me anyway, old enough to go. I know a lot of people take their 1-year-old to Paris, but it's not my idea of fun.
Well, it depends on the temperament of the kid, perhaps. I would say Mine would not have been great in Paris at 1, for sure. What would you tell like other people who are using cashback cards? Because that's another common thing too that we see people doing instead.
Yeah, I mean, my big thing was I didn't like the idea of paying an annual fee for a credit card. And I thought that the cashback was a good deal, but I can get so much more out of those points. I mean, I know it's pretty well, I mean, it's very easy for me to fly to Florida for free now, which to me is at least a value of $1,000. And I don't think I got $1,000 back in a year, probably with my Citibank. And maybe I did, maybe I got 2,000 back, but even so, that's not nearly what I can get with the points that I've racked up. And the fact that I'm paying annual fees for some of the cards, some of the benefits are worth it. The Priority Pass Lounge, that alone, it's just, I mean, between my husband and myself, we both have it, so we can take both the kids in. The kids just think that's how you travel, right? We've got this special place at the airport where we can go, and so they go and they get food and they sit back, and it's just what they expect now.
So what would you go back and tell yourself with the objection about, I don't want to pay an annual fee?
Probably just that there's a reason you pay the fee. It's not just to have for the glory of the card, that there are benefits and perks, and especially on the Chase cards and the Capital One, where they give you a travel credit. I mean, you literally can 100% balance it out in terms of benefits. It's not just like some elusive travel protection benefit. Oh, that's nice to have, and in case you need it, but it's actual money. $300 travel credit is actual money, and so it offsets the cost of the card.
Right. And just, even if you have to pay an annual fee, it's helping you be able to fly for free and stay for free X number of times a year. So it's so worth, $99 or whatever it is to get thousands of dollars in free travel. So are there any challenges, places that you got hung up since you were brand new to travel hacking, or pretty much, since it was new to you, that you found difficult?
Well, I would say not so much a challenge. One thing that when I first, the other goal I had when I joined was to go to Hawaii, which we still haven't done. And the challenge for that is living in Cleveland and flying on Southwest. There are no direct flights back. So I know that sort of the way that a lot of people do it, and even if they're not flying Southwest, some people just fly to the West Coast, spend a few days there, and then go over and then do the same thing coming back. For me, again, it's my two kids. The 7-year-old just turned 7. She's great for a lot of travel stuff, but not everything. And I think the long flights would be hard on her. And she's not a great city traveler yet. So museums are not her jam, although it's definitely mine and my husband's. So we're working on that. But those kinds of things, that has changed our direction. It hasn't been a problem. We ended up instead of, and I can talk about this now, or I can talk about it later, depending on what you want to do. But we ended up going to Cancun this past spring break instead of going to Hawaii, which had been my plan. It's a little bit shorter flights, and we did an all-inclusive resort, which for that 7-year-old was the ideal vacation. She and my 10-year-old, they both like the buffet restaurant. I'm surprised they didn't have to put a new wing on the side of it for my kids. They ate so much. And they are not, my older one is not a huge eater. She is kind of picky. She found a million things that she liked. She didn't, they couldn't get enough of it. And we went to some of the other restaurants there too, but it was mainly that restaurant. And honestly, the younger one, they probably lost money on us. We didn't pay money since we paid points. There were activities at the pool all the time. She was 6 at the time. There she is doing water aerobics every time it was on. Every time there was, everything that was going on, she was into everything. She loved the swim up bar. She would be out there drinking. They make these big drinks for kids, and she'd just be sitting there at the swim up bar in the big kid pool. And it was her dream come true. They loved it there. And that was the perfect vacation for us. I don't think that I was worried about dragging them around Hawaii and having them not like it, because it's, let's go do this and do this thing. And instead it was just relax, We take our time. We thought about doing an excursion and we didn't because we were having so much fun at the resort, but I wouldn't have even known about that place and about using points to pay for it if it hadn't been for Families Fly Free, because we were able to pay, I think it was around 25,000 points a night. Plus then I paid 700, I remember it was exactly $720 for the kids, which I probably could have done on points, but I decided for that cash price that it was worth paying the cash.
Mhm.
And it was, we spent 6 nighs. It was a fantastic vacation that was all but free. Yeah, flights were free. We flew on Southwest. So I think I figured out it cost us, let's see, it was right around, 6 nights. So right around $3,300 is what the cash price would have been. And that's without the kids, I think.
And I think that that is one of the best points redemptions out there, is these all inclusives. And a lot of our members have been doing that and reporting back like you did.
Right.
I mean, that's just a tremendous value for the amount of points that you spent. And not only did you get your accommodations, but y'all ate free. And as you said, your girls
And when
ate
you
up.
right. I mean, because to me, part of that is if I go out to eat with these kids and buy a meal for them, they could take a bite and say, oh, I don't like this cheeseburger that's just like every other cheeseburger I had.
Well,
But
I have ones like that. So.
it's so frustrating. So when you've got that food and it's just out there and I don't have to worry about where we're going to eat, what we're going to do, if they're going to like it, there's always something that they like. There was never a complaint. It just made it 100% worthwhile. And really it was the total points price for 6 nights was 126,000 points, which is like just over 1 credit card sign up, really. I mean, it's not much.
Mhm.
And then we spent points for the flights. I was looking and it ended up being 75,000 points, right around 75,000 points for the flight, Southwest points. But even that, I spent more than I had originally. It was like one-way price of 8,715 points per person. Plus, one person flew with the companion pass. But I ended up changing pretty close to the last minute, changing one of the flights because I just didn't like the times. And as it turned out, if I had left it the way it was, we probably would have gotten home the day that we were supposed to. But instead, we spent a night in St. Louis because our flight was delayed because of a plumbing problem on the plane that they had to fix down in Cancun. And so because of that, though, we got $200 travel vouchers for all the people who were not the companion. So I got an extra $600. And, the kids just, even though we got in late, it's a new hotel. It's like, oh, look at this place.
Hotels are always great.
Anything's fun for them, right? Anything new is fun. So it was all good.
And then now you're able to use your vouchers for another trip, right?
Yeah, paying for our Florida trip this year with the vouchers. And I needed to have a little bit more cash than we had. We had, in addition to those vouchers, I had $100 for each of us who aren't the companion from Christmas time, because we got delayed in all that mess. But we were delayed 3 hours and got $300 total. And then 100,000 points because they gave all of us, even my companion, 25,000 points.
Wow.
For that. Yeah. I know. So I now have a whole lot of Southwest points. And since I don't have to use any for Christmas, I'm starting to think again about maybe Hawaii for spring break, but we'll see. Not sure. If not spring break, maybe after the school year ends next year, we might do it then.
Yeah. And it does help to sort of break up those flights, like even with older kids,
I can understand. I've thought about driving to Chicago and flying from there because I can get, direct flights to Chicago. We've got family there, so we could visit a little, but I wouldn't mind that. But that's part of it's just trying to figure out how to do it in the way that's going to make the most sense for our kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So any other challenges you've faced other than shifting away from Hawaii temporarily?
No, I don't think so. Not really. No challenges.
Okay. You found it to be easy enough to execute?
Absolutely. Yeah. And anytime I'm not sure what I'm doing, I know we were talking before we started this about love vouchers. I know that there's a video on the on Kajabi that I could look up about, how to use the love vouchers the best and how to change them from basically from being a voucher to being part of a travel credit or whatever it's called. And I know I can find that kind of stuff. So, and I always can find what I need. And if I can't, I can always email because I know you guys will respond, which is great.
Yes. And to the point on the vouchers and all of that, like that's something we share with members too. Like when there are delays, like the big Christmas one or whatever last year, we hear from other members who are like you caught up in it, what they are getting offered by Southwest, which can help other members know what to ask for, because somebody might be getting more than someone else is. And if you don't know to ask for that amount, and so we have even Cammie on our team. If there's any kind of a delay, she always asks for, some kind of voucher and she usually gets it. And then she's figured out a way to cobble them all together into yet another free trip, right? On top of her points that she already has. So there's all kinds of hacking that goes into this fun game that we play. So what has been your favorite part of membership?
I really do like listening to podcasts, all the podcasts that are available. A lot of the members that present podcasts have really great tips. I think when I joined, I thought either I would go to the webinars and sit through webinars or I would find that, I can't do this and it would not work out and I'd be disappointed. But what I found instead is because everything's available on demand, there's no reason that I have to sit through the webinars. They're not always, I full-time job and mother of two kids. It's hard for me to get to things like that. So I often will just listen. If I'm walking the dog, I'll listen to a podcast. Sometimes it's one where I wish that I could see it, so I'll go back and watch it online later, but I'll still listen. And so that's been really helpful. That's been a really great thing.
Yeah, because we know that it's not everyone can get to them live, but you can watch them at any point in the future at your convenience, because it might not be a topic you're interested in at that point in time. Maybe it's about Hawaii. You're not ready to learn about Hawaii yet, but you can when you are planning your trip to Hawaii.
Right. Yeah, I just listened to one because we've been talking about if we going to Kauai, and there was one on Maui, and now I'm like, maybe Maui would be good because somebody else told us that Maui is very commercial and it's not very, it's not the sort of rustic, like nature experience of Hawaii that you think it's going to be, but it sounded great. So I don't know.
Maui would be my recommendation for a first trip. And I just was reading about even Kauai, like they are having a terrible time, like particularly this summer with traffic and with just like long TSA line. They don't have the infrastructure to support the volume that's coming there. And two, like if you like to be doing things, I think there's more to do on Maui's a good mix of things to do. And if you want to just hang out at the beach, you can get both.
My kids really want,
and it's pretty. You have the natural, the road to Hana and all of that if you want to see the pretty parts. But
yeah, my kids really want to. The one says she just keeps saying she just wants to snorkel in clear water. The thing about Cancun, we didn't have that, and that's okay because they also, are the same people who say they want to go to the beach and then complain that there's sand on the beach. So I don't know. They don't quite understand.
I'm not a fan of sand myself.
So I don't like the sand that much either. So I'm okay with not going to the beach, but they want, they want to snorkel. And so that I was glad to hear that you can do that in Maui. The hotel chain that I have started to really like is Hyatt, and that's partly based on that Cancun trip. And the points price is really great for Hyatt. And I'm actually working on getting globalist status, hopefully this year. So, which comes with a lot of perks. And so the Hyatt hotels in Kauai are pretty booked up for next year. Hyatt just had a revaluation of their properties, which I know, and a lot of people booked well in advance at that Grand
But they may
Hyatt
cancel.
Kauai.
Keep checking.
And that's exactly, then they'll cancel. I know
they'll decide.
Because they booked it just in case, and then they're going to cancel. But that's one thing I'm like, I don't know if I want to go spring break because I don't know if I want to try to cobble together a few nights because I can find 2 nights sometimes, but not 4 or whatever I decide I want. So So I don't know. We'll see. And I don't mind paying the slightly higher points price for there because points are replenishable. I can get plenty of points. It's not a problem. If I want to stay there, we'll be able to do it on points. And so what if they revalued the hotels? It's,
Right.
it's
We'll
fine with me.
just get more points.
Exactly. Yeah, not a problem.
And do you feel comfortable with your system to keep replenishing your points? You feel like you have plenty to work with? I guess.
I do.
Yeah.
My husband now he's the one who's holding the Hyatt cards, and it's his World of Hyatt account. And so now he has the business card, and we just got the personal card because the personal card gives you 5 nights toward that status per year. And I needed a little bit more bump, and then we're going to get points from that. So that's good. But absolutely, it's pretty easy to figure out which cards are going to give you the best value. And if I don't know for sure, I can always check in with you guys, which is great. It's pretty easy to continue to have enough points. And I was going to say too, my husband, I've got all these Southwest points now, but on top of it, my husband has to earn Companion Pass like for the next year, because mine runs out at the end of this year. So we're going to be getting a whole bunch more Southwest points pretty soon. So I know I don't have to focus at all on getting Southwest points at the moment. It can be all Chase or Hyatt, a combination of those two. So I can use the Chase for other things if I want to.
Yeah, perfect. And I did want to say, when we were talking about webinars and whatnot, that Trish led one for us all about London, which is awesome. I loved that one because I haven't been to London, which is nuts, but I've got to get there very soon. But yeah, you made me want to go ASAP.
Yeah.
So for our members, that's in there if you haven't watched the London one. But and we like to bring in people who know about a particular destination, because she's been there multiple times taking school groups, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to go back again. Yeah. It might be where I take my own children in Europe the first time, because it's easy for, I just got back from Copenhagen and Stockholm, and everybody there spoke English too, but London is super easy, and it's a great city. It's pretty compact. There's lots to do. There are lots of, really great places to see. It's not cheap, but, when
you're flying there free, then you can.
True. And
worry
stay
about it
free, hopefully. Yeah. I like to stay free too.
Yeah, exactly. So do you have a travel tip you can share with us, since you do take school groups and all that? You're a well-traveled.
Well, thanks. I think that in terms of Families Fly Free and hacking, the thing I would say is know what your goal is before you in order to figure out a plan to get there. So, for example, the Hyatt and the whether I was going to Hawaii or going somewhere else. When I started out planning to go to Hawaii, I had to have that plan in mind and have, know that those were the points that I needed. Because there are it's easy to get sidetracked. We do have a Venture X card. My husband has a Venture X card, and we put things on that too. And can you hear my dog barking incessantly? I apologize for that.
No.
He's downstairs. It's pretty far, but to know not to do all that spend on the Venture card. We do some spend on the Venture card, and it's good to have to be able to cancel some things out. But to know what your plan is, that's sort of my number one, tip in terms of hacking. Having just returned from Europe, I would say my other tip is figure out a way to fly with only carry-ons. Because we did have a student whose bag, I kept encouraging the girls, just carry-ons only if you can. And, I'd say, I don't know you. I don't know your life. If you can't do only carry on, you've got to make that choice. But, make sure you've got change of clothes and and whatever you're carrying on, and make sure you've got whatever you must have, and do what you have to do, and know that it could get lost. Well, we had one get lost going over, and it arrived. We went from Copenhagen to Stockholm. It arrived while we were still in Copenhagen. So at least it didn't have to chase us across Scandinavia. But it was frustrating for the kid. And, it's really, I'm a big, I like my cosmetics. I like to have my stuff. I like to sometimes have full-size bottles of my stuff.
Yeah.
I sunscreen, I burn very easily. And I went and got travel size of everything and I carried on and I just felt more confident that everything was going to get there. So this is the way air travel is right now. You kind of
Yep.
have to
Yep. I agree with you.
plan for the worst. Yeah. But
It's a tough switch to make if you're not used to it, but once
yeah,
you do, it's nice not have to stand there and wait for the bag too, like at the end.
yeah, it was really, really handy. I don't know if I can do it with my kids with me. But my next trip, we're gonna drive. I know that sounds crazy. But we're staying free in hotels on the way down and on the way back. And so when I drive with my big old minivan, I can take whatever I want, which is
Take
nice.
those full size bottles.
Exactly.
So just in terms of your savings,
Uh-huh.
with using travel rewards, do you feel like you've got more than your money's worth for the cost of membership? Are you able to ballpark it in any way?
For sure. I mean, I know I've saved, if I think about flying to Florida, 3 times, I think we've done. And then of course we've stayed in hotels, multiple times. It's not just the Cancun trip. So, I mean, Cancun was well over it was probably 4,500 if you count the hotel and the flights, at least 4,500. I don't even know what the cash price is to fly to Cancun, because why would I know that? I don't need to know that. And so at least six or seven or $8,000, I think I've saved. And that's not including the fact that, I do have that Priority Pass membership that we can use. And we don't have to pay for that at all. We applied for global entry. We haven't been able to, we haven't tried hard to get appointments. We haven't gotten appointments. They tried to let me have an appointment coming through Newark the other day. And I'm like, do you see that I've got 16 students? I can't spend half an hour doing this, but I really wanted to do that entry.
That's what we're going to do on our way
Oh,
back from Paris.
the guy offered it to me. He was like, did you apply for global entry? So it must pop up. And I said,
Wow.
and he said, we've got appointments if you want one. It takes about 30 minutes. I said, I don't have 30 minutes. I have kids to watch. So it's just been impossible to get. And I know that there are ways I can. I teach. So during the school year, it's not worth trying. So I was going to see if I can do anything this summer, but that's another $200 just right off the top for global entry. That I didn't have to pay. So, when I think about, I mean, it's at least $8,000 and it might be more like, higher than that. So there are lots of other little things that I've learned through the group that have just saved me small amounts of money here and there, saved me time. So that's great. Yeah. So for sure, well worth what I've.
And were you skeptical at the get-go?
I was. I remember saying to you in email, I listened to the Choose FI podcast, which is financial independence. So these are, extra frugal people. I tend to be extra frugal. And for me to drop that much money all at once was a big deal. And all I could think about though was I'm having to spend at least $1,000 2 or 3 times a year to fly to Florida. How can I get out of that? What can I do other than not seeing my mother-in-law, which is not allowed? What can I do to not have to pay that money? And this offered me a solution that I don't think I could have figured out on my own. So yeah, it's been good.
Yeah. And I think, like you say, very frugal people, the financial independence people, but I think that those folks, you guys have a gift of being able to see not just an outlay of cost, but the potential savings, which a lot of people can't see. They just see this cost and they can't see beyond, how it's actually going to save them in the long run. So I love that you guys have that type of mindset.
Mm-hmm.
It saved you so much money, and you've been able to do things you may never have been able to do or thought you could do while saving for financial independence, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people in that sort of the FIRE movement, I think, have shifted their outlook from, complete frugality, like cutting your own hair kind of stuff, which I
Only eating bananas.
won't do that. But from being like that to how do I use my money most effectively so that I can enjoy my life while I'm living it and be comfortable and be stable and have that stability, have that foundation. And so to me, that's a lot of what this has to do with. It's not I'm gonna do nothing but save until I've got that magic number and I can retire early. It's I'm going to save, I'm going to do all those things, but I'm going to use my money where I want to use my money. And travel is something I want my kids to have. I know I keep saying that they're ready and they have gone places, and they're ready in some ways, but in, and because of that, I want to take them while I still can. They're 7 and 10, and I can see already they're talking about travel soccer, and things are going to get busier. And when am I going to have a chance to do this? We're not going to have time when they're older and they want to spend more time with their friends than with us. So, I want to make those memories while I can, while they're little, and share things with them, expand their horizons, expand their minds, show them the world is bigger than Shaker Heights, Ohio. So, which is not a bad place, but still.
Right. They just want to see beyond that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Couldn't have said it better myself. I agree with everything you just said. Any last things you want to share or advice you would give before we conclude?
I would say, I think that anybody who's thinking about joining should think about, the cost and the benefit. And I'm 100% believe that the benefit far outweighs the cost. I'll also add that, even if you didn't learn how to travel hack and all you got was all the videos and all the information and those kinds of things, that part alone is worthwhile. I mean, and I say that as a renewing member, like I already have a lot of what I need to know. But it's a weekly email about what's new in travel that week and what's happening in the group that week, and any new information and anything like that happens new. You guys share it with us. So it's not simply join the group, learn the strategies and leave. I rejoined, I continued my second year because I'm continuing to get value from being a member of the group. So I'll say those last things, I guess.
Yeah. And I think like a lot of people assume it's just an online course where you come in and you consume and then you're done. Like you said, I've consumed, I'm done. Right. Yeah. How would you explain it as different than just consuming information one way,
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a community. And the fact that you have people like me who are members lead webinars, it makes it feel more like a community too. But it's interactive. It's not just a bunch of stuff to read or to watch and then learn the strategies. And the strategies change, things change. So, while you might think how to do everything, there might be something new. There's a new card that comes out, or there's whatever. I mean, you can even find out about the bonuses and new bonuses from other places, but that doesn't mean that if that's right for your strategy. And knowing that I can email and say, here's where I am, here's where what I think I want to do next. Do you think I should get this card? It's nice to know I can do that when I need to. So,
and that will tell you whether we think it's good for you or not.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You have no vested interest in any of that. So, yeah.
All right. Well, that was fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing. Thanks again. And we'll catch everyone on the next podcast.